So thank you for your story. Indeed, a very interesting topic, making learning work.
Yeah.
And the numbers you gave were actually quite shocking, I think, for many of us in the audience, how that your skill actually drops after you do a training. So what can a manager or a company do to prevent that and to get most of the value out of the training?
Yeah. Well, it's actually about very small things. So it's about building training, integrating it into this whole idea of feedback and coaching, and actually managers noticing when people go on training. So if I'm your manager and you're about to go on a training course, best practice would say before you go, maybe we'd have a 10-minute conversation about, you're on that course next week, what do you want to get out of it? And then you might tell me what you wanted to get out of it, and then we might say, great, well, why don't we catch up after you've been on the course? Tell me what you thought was useful, anything that you want to try that's new, and so on and so on. And then you start that coaching conversation. And I think the main point I want to make is it doesn't need to be difficult. People sometimes think, oh, but I'm not a coach, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. It's really actually about, paying attention to the people who work for you and trying to develop them. But if you can integrate formally training and, feedback and coaching, I think that works best. And certainly if organisations are doing big change programmes, it's something that I see a lot, and it's something that we always advise that people do.
I also agree with you with what you said just now on the stage, that for many organizations it's very difficult, to internalize those feedback and coaching processes. So what do you have any examples for organizations who actually have done it in a good way? And what could other organizations learn from them? Yeah,
I think one of the things, so I think there's a number of things there. So when I was a sales manager, for example, what we did, I worked as a sales manager for quite a while, what we tended to do was to promote the people who were the best salespeople. But actually being a salesperson and being a sales manager is fundamentally different. So when you're a sales manager, your job is to get performance out of people, which is all about feedback and coaching. So I think one thing organisations can do is to understand that being a manager, when you manage people, requires a skill set around people. So you don't just get promoted because you're super clever or you're super good at your job. Your job is about getting performance out of your people. So that's one thing about recruitment. Second thing is, if you recruit people who haven't had experience of managing a team, give them some training and coaching themselves so that they understand how to give feedback, how to have a coaching conversation, and encourage them to do it. So I think it's about taking people management seriously, whereas we tend to think, well, if you're a nice guy, hey, guess what, you can just do it. And actually we can make that process more thought through.
Another problem you mentioned in your story, which I agree with, is that a lot of companies tend to think for their clients. This we know what they want paradigm. What would be your advice? How can they get out of this paradigm and out of their comfort zone? Yeah,
I think to see that, to really have this process of seeing their process as their customers see it. And although I chose to share an example about a train company, the one with Great Ormond Street was not, because people sometimes think, well, it's easy if it's a journey, because you can talk about customer journey. But we've done similar things with insurance companies where we've said, what's the first point of contact with your organisation? It's a website. Then you might call a call centre to get some information. Then you might talk to an advisor. Then you might get a proposal. Then you might sign a contract. That's a customer journey. Experience it as your customers do. So take off your insurance worker hat and put on go onto the website. Is the language easy? Has it got a lot of jargon? And so on and so on. So it is about seeing things as a customer. And if you can pretend to be a customer, it makes it much easier. And I think, the danger is when we start saying we know what our customers want.